Hi, I'm Ailbhe McDonagh. In this video, we are going to be learning how to play a piece called Chinese Garden from It's a Cello Thing, Book 1, published by Boosey and Hawkes. I wrote this piece to think about the legato, calm, tranquil sounds we can make on the cello. Just the feeling that you would have when you're in a Chinese garden. Very peaceful, so we don't want any changes of bow speed that might interrupt that calm. You can hear on all the major platforms like Spotify and Apple Music me performing this piece with piano, and there are also some accompaniment tracks. So when you do learn this, they're all free online and you can play along with the piano accompaniment. The piece starts with the piano. It's in 4/4 and you can see that there's no key signature here. So the piece itself is written in the Dorian mode. So it really adds to that old world calm feeling that you might have heard back in the Gregorian chant days. We start and we use the second finger here. So rather than our major sonorities, which would be open 1, 3, 4, here we're using our second finger. So it's a great piece to practice that. Let's start at the very beginning. The piano opens with 2 bars of 4/4 and then you join, starting as it's directed in a moderately soft dynamic. So rather than starting at the heel, we might start more around the balance point because then the weight of the bow doesn't affect the dynamic so much. So let's start here with our first minim or half note. So in our first 4 bars, it's great practice straight away to practice just the bow on the open strings. And that means that as we play the notes, we are imagining that we're playing the left hand. So our bow must move whenever it will, when we play the left hand, to the string that the left hand is playing. So I'll imagine here. So that was very good. And then at the end, the string crossing caught me a little unawares. So I need to see now what direction my string crossings are going. We discussed the string crossings before in a previous video. And I want to know, am I doing a clockwise or an anti-clockwise circle? So let's check it out. Anti-clockwise. Still anti-clockwise. Interesting. So in the first phrase, every single circle is going to be going in this direction. So now that I've worked that out, I can be much smoother in my bow changes. Here we go with the left hand. So you'll be surprised when you do bow and open strings practice how much confidence it gives the bow sound. The other thing to look at in this piece is when you have a minim or a crotchet or a quaver, so your half notes, your quarter notes or your eighth notes, they don't always need the same amount of bow. So have a look what I do here. For my minims, I'm using twice the amount of bow that I use for the crotchets, and then even less again for my quavers. So here we go. Have a look at the amount of bow I'm using. More for the minim. More. We'll keep going to the second phrase. So you can see I'm using much more bow for the minims, then maybe half that amount for the crotchets, and then probably just a quarter of that amount for the quavers. And that means that I don't always have to get back to the heel every single time I play. This is our bow distribution. In that second part of the first phrase, we have our first clockwise circle in the string crossing between the A on the G string and the open D string. So have a look at this. can see I went in this direction, and it's the first time I do that in the whole piece. So good to watch out for it. The other thing to note is when we string cross and we go from a fingered note to an open string, it's very good practice to hold your first finger down until you've started playing the open string. That makes it sound much more legato, smooth, and much more resonant. So watch me do that here. Back to our anti-clockwise circle. Clockwise. That last section is quite tricky with our string crossings. So I would again do the whole piece on bone open strings. We're going from bar 7 here, starting on that A, and we start here. Anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise. So you can see at the fast speed we have to think about that bar 9. So we have clockwise, anti-clockwise. So just to show the last 2 beats of that bar, clockwise, anti-clockwise. So not too difficult when you isolate it, but that's a great way to practice when you isolate something tricky and then see, can you add back in the left hand? So I see here that when I go back to my anti-clockwise string crossing, I'm a little slow to do it. So let's try it slower. Move. And there we have it. So slower practice, much, much slower than you think, will really help your body figure out what it needs to do. Then we have 1 bar's rest. So we have to count 4 beats while the piano plays. And then we are going to encounter a fun little stroke called legno. And that literally means playing with the wood, the stick part of the bow. So here I am normally with my bow hold, and instead now I turn around to the side. So when we did this little exercise in our bow strengthening exercises, you can see it's sort of like window wipers. All you do for legno is you move out to the upper half of the bow. So I'm about maybe 3/4 of the way out. And like our window wipers, I will do a rhythm. Quite a cool sound. And all I'm doing here is playing with my first finger and my pinky. So I'm doing a little window wiper action, quite far out the bow. And then we have to play it up on the A string. So much easier on the C string down here close to our body. But then we have to move up to the A string angle to be able to play our A string legno. And again, pinky down and we go. And you're directing the rhythm with your first finger. And finally, our last phrase. We have to immediately go from legno to bow. So how do we do that? So we were sideways and then we just rotate our hand forward so that we're back to our usual bow stroke. Firm fingers, and we hold on so we can control that start to the bow. So I'll just do it one more time. 1. So you see I'm actually placing the bow on the string before I start playing. So one last time. Anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise. So we've reached the end of the piece. I hope you really enjoy it. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.